My name is Nada from the Palestinian Youth Movement, and I'm here with Hiba. As you all know, Genocide Joe was just in Los Angeles fundraising for his embarrassing re-election campaign at the racist Zionist AIPAC billionaires house. And now he's here in San Francisco with his fellow war criminal and liar Nancy Pelosi to fundraise some more. And we are here to make it clear that there will be no peace for Zionist genocide perpetrators like Joe Biden. There can absolutely be no peace for these liars who are supporting and overseeing this genocide and who are wielding their power to cause mass suffering. Biden and Pelosi are willing to support one of the worst ongoing cases of human atrocities in modern history, all to secure funding for their re-election and to ensure Palestinians never achieve liberation. Shame! It feels like a waste of time to spend a breath on their names, but we talk about their disgusting antics and the reality we live in so that we can expose their true nature and to come to a clear understanding together on how this system does not work and how there's no such thing as quote-unquote democracy in this country. People's Chance telling Biden that in November we'll remember is a message to the entire system. The masses see through the lies and deceptions put forward by war criminals in charge of this system. And these times have made it abundantly clear that the system does not work. That the ruling class on top prioritizes profit making so much that it's to the point of facilitating an ongoing genocide. Nothing justifies this. Nothing. Billions, if not millions, if not billions, all around the world have taken to the streets demanding an immediate and permanent ceasefire since October 7th. Yet the U.S. has only intensified its support for the Zionist entity and for the occupation. Shame! The U.S. has supplied so-called Israel with billions of dollars annually to support its settler colonial endeavors and its ongoing genocide. The U.S. has only sought to increase its aid to the Zionist entity. Shame! The Biden administration, the so-called leaders of the imperialist U.S., are the ones who make a decision every single day to starve over 1 million Palestinians. They are taking active steps to facilitate the mutilation, starvation, and slaughtering of our families and of our people. In the days immediately following the ICJ's decision, the U.S., Canada, UK, and at least 7 other countries have cut over $662 million in annual funding to UNRWA. Shame! This was done based on the unsubstantiated claims made by Israel that 10% of UNRWA staff have ties to the Palestinian resistance in Gaza. The same lies used to justify bombing hospitals, mosques, universities, and entire city blocks. The cuts to UNRWA's funding, which constitute the overwhelming majority of its current budget, are an impeding catastrophe for more than 6 million Palestinians residing in 60 refugee camps in occupied Palestine, Lebanon, Jordan, and Syria. UNRWA was created in 1949 as a response to the Nakba, or the catastrophe of 1948, to provide relief and support human development for Palestinian refugees exiled in 1948 and later years, along with their descendants. The decision to defund UNRWA a day after the ICJ's decision to grant the majority of provisional measures requested by South Africa is not coincidental. Imperialist powers are seeking to offset the international developments around the ICJ ruling and prevent aid from entering Palestine. Shame! The U.S. and its allies' current attempt to destroy UNRWA is a accumulation of decades-long campaign run by Zionists against UNRWA. By destroying UNRWA, imperialist nations are directly attacking the right of return and trying to free Palestinians in trying to force Palestinians in refugee camps to assimilate and become nationals of the states they live in. This attack on UNRWA is a form of collective punishment for Palestinian resistance. Shame!
And on top of that, since October 7th, it is these war criminals who have been working to spread blatant lies in their powerful positions, lying about Palestinians, dismissing death tolls, dismissing threats of hospitals and schools being bombed. They tried to convince the world that the lives of Palestinians are disposable. Shame! And as it is our most basic duty, we have risen up with the rest of the people of conscience in this world to reject their disgusting and dehumanizing rhetoric. We recognize each of our brave and dignified martyrs in Palestine who have been martyred by the criminal Zionist state and U.S. imperialism. We will never forget the indifference or forgive the inaction of world leaders, nor the abandonment of Palestine and Palestinians by the Arab regimes at our time of most heightened need since the Nakba of 1948. Shame! As the bombs dropping on Rafah are funded by our tax dollars and after UNRWA funding cuts by the U.S. and its allies, one thing remains clear. The Israeli occupation is committing genocide in Gaza, criminally aided and abetted by Biden and the entirety of the West. Shame! Shame! We will not look away from Rafah. We will not look away from Gaza. We will not look away from the genocide the Zionists are committing with impunity. Our faith remains only in our people and our resistance, whose unshakable steadfastness continues to guide us on the road to liberation. As Palestinians are continuously bombed in the dark, all eyes must be turned to Gaza, and all energy must be poured into ending the U.S.'s facilitation of this genocide. Rafah is beyond a red line. We demand an immediate and permanent ceasefire and an end to this genocide. We demand an end to the 17-year-long brutal siege on Gaza. We demand the release of all Palestinian prisoners. We demand an immediate reversal to UNRWA cuts. We demand an end to the 75-year occupation of Palestine, and we demand an end to the Western complicity in Zionism. Woo! Woo! We will continue to take the streets to defend Rafah, Gaza, and all of Palestine. Woo! The people will make sure Biden, Pelosi, and the rest of their ilk are disrupted and disturbed at every turn. There can be no peace for these politicians while they continue to materially support massacres, starvation, and arbitrary detentions of Palestinians and the occupation of Palestine.
My name is James McCabe. I came here from Las Vegas. I'm actually in a Palestinian group over there, but I wanted to come out here and support. I'm against the number of civilians that are killed, and I'm against Israel going into Rafah. And I think that President Biden has leverage. He can call for a ceasefire by withholding money and weapons to Israel. And he's not doing that because he has a connection with the Israel lobby, specifically AIPAC, and he's afraid of losing his large donor funding.
Well, a lot of billionaires who live here in Pacific Heights, over 80 billionaires.
Sure.
They're making money from the...
Sure.
More profiteering?
Yep. Yeah, I was in the military when George Herbert Walker Bush was president, and he actually said the United States has opposed and will continue to oppose settlement activity in territories occupied in 1967, which remain an obstacle to peace. And the settlements, and nobody wants to talk about also what's going on in the West Bank, but hundreds of people have been killed over there.
Pogroms.
Hamas.
There's pogroms going on.
Yeah, right. And it's actually, they're actually living in Bantustans. They don't have an area for a contiguous sovereign Palestinian state. And when Biden talks about that, he's just really giving lip service to get people behind him. But actually, there's more than 700,000 settlers, Israeli settlers living in the West Bank, which is illegal under international law and specified in UN Resolution 465, which refers to all structures in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem and the Syrian Golan Heights, as having, and I quote, no legal validity.
And what do you think about the fact there are a lot of American citizens there working for the IDF or in the IDF? You think that should...
Yeah, I think that if you are in the IDF, technically you're not an American, and many of the IDF have killed they've actually killed people, and people in the IDF are also settlers. And when Biden says, oh yeah, we're not going to give them visas, well, they're American citizens. It doesn't make any sense. And who would cite them for wrongdoing? The IDF themselves? I mean, there really is nobody to implement that. International peacekeepers should be sent to the West Bank and East Jerusalem to control the violence of the Israeli settlers and the IDF against the civilians of Palestine living in their land, which is the West Bank and East Jerusalem.
I'm here because of the genocide that's being perpetrated with my tax dollars, all Americans' tax dollars, in Gaza right now. And, I was actually at Padilla's office today with a group, Labor for Palestine, trying to put pressure on those folks. But, the more people we have out here putting pressure on the Democratic Party, the important, especially with these warmongers that are here today, Biden and Pelosi. Genocide Joe is an appropriate name for Biden, and I think it's going to stick with him. And if they want a strategy to have Trump win, this is it for sure for the Democratic Party. They want Trump in the White House. They keep on doing what they're doing regarding Gaza.
And the ILWU, you're a member of the Inland Boatmen's Union, retired. I mean, what position is it taking on this war?
Well, the executive board of the San Francisco region of the Inland Boatmen's Union passed a resolution in November calling for a ceasefire, as has ILW Warehouse Local 6 and ILW Local 10 have all passed resolutions calling for a ceasefire. And I think also the Southern California region of the IBU has. Longshore Local 8 in Portland has also passed a resolution, and we're pressuring as many other, locals, and also unfortunately the International Executive Board of the ILW, the governing body between conventions, has yet to pass a resolution, which is a shame considering the past positions that the ILW has taken on Palestinian rights.
And in 2008, there was a West Coast strike against the war in Iraq. You think similar action should be taken by workers in the United States?
Well, I think it's going to be necessary. I mean, clearly, this isn't going to be enough. There's going to have to take, people taking action at the point of production is going to be necessary if we're going to have this impact. But this is work. This is helping. Every little thing helps, and you never know at what point you're going to, where the tipping point is reached.
And are you surprised by the kind of outpouring of anger and mobilization? It seems like all over the country and internationally.
I mean, not necessarily surprised, really. I mean, because of the, just the horrific nature of the slaughter. It's honestly, in some ways, I am almost surprised that, just everyone in this country who pays any attention, and you can't avoid it. I mean, you can even see it, even though it's within the context of, like watching mainstream media, I guess we can still say, despite the fact that right wing is sort of taking that, you still see it on the NBC News, CBS News. You still can see, if you want to open your eyes, images of children being pulled out of rubble. A 1.5 million people pushed up against the border in Rafah. Hundreds of thousands of people facing starvation. Thousands and thousands dead. An untold number, really, at this point. So just the horror, the incredible horror that is being perpetrated again with our tax dollars. I'm not shocked at what's happening, but there should be more.
And in Pacific Heights, where we're located right now, there are over 80 billionaires who are war profiteers. They're making money. I mean, all the trillions that have been spent, a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question about it. They're making a ton of money. They're hand over fist, these billionaires that are in our midst.
Nancy Pelosi specifically requested Biden keep this fundraiser very much under wraps, not open or accessible to the community, which is why you see the ticket prices for this event soaring to $100,000 for this event, different than all of his other fundraisers as well. And what we're telling Biden today is don't you dare come to our city and act like you can ignore both the residents and the city council here who are calling for a ceasefire.
And we're in a neighborhood where billionaires, over 80 billionaires that live in San Francisco. Are these billionaires profiting from this war?
These billionaires could very much be profiting from this war. They could be connected to companies like BlackRock. They could be connected to companies like Lockheed Martin, who are creating the bombs that are dropped on children in Gaza. They could be connected to the tech hub of Google, which has a $1.2 billion contract with Israel to surveil Palestinians. All of these billionaires could be connected to the genocide of the Palestinian people.
And workers around the world in India and other countries are starting to shut down. You think that should be an action that working people worldwide in the United States should take?
Absolutely. We have learned before these 4 months, and especially during these 4 months, that workers are willing to put themselves on the line. They are willing to block the boats, they are willing to block the trains, and any weapons that are being sent to Israel. The solidarity between workers and Palestinians are tighter than ever, and it goes to speak to the internationalism of our cause, which is against capitalism and exploitation and racism that workers are fighting for every single day.
You're talking about a system that's based on war, U.S. imperialism. I mean, there are 800 bases all over the world. I mean, in Latin America and Africa and Asia, they want to encircle China. What's going to stop it? Because it seems the United States is ready to continue to go on with the genocide regardless of the cost.
Yeah, we need the world to mobilize, and not only mobilize in the numbers that we have been mobilizing in, but to get organized. It's time for us to interrupt the business as usual and the systems that function like this genocide is not taking place. It is time for full and mass-scale civil disobedience.
And Nancy Pelosi is a representative from the people of San Francisco, even though the people are against the war, they're probably for a ceasefire, the genocide. Why is she continuing to stay in power?
Nancy Pelosi continues to stay in power because she has promised every crony that she will work to them as long as they donate millions and billions to her campaign. I mean, she's an insider trader. And time and time again, people are dropping off manure at her house last week. The people of San Francisco are done with Nancy Pelosi and the system of business as usual that she's creating. She's a member of this community too, so she will hear us on this day and every other day as well.
Okay, thank you. What can people do to support this struggle?
Support Palestinian-led organizations, join organizations in your community, and disrupt business as usual as we see it, because Palestinians who are undergoing a blockade by land, air, and sea are seeing bombs drop over their head, have no access to water, food, or any medical supplies, are counting on us to help lift the siege on Gaza and end all arms to Israel, and the power lies within the people, and we have to realize that power.
Mushtaq Sayyid. Sure, I'm a supporter of Palestine, so I know the history, and I don't think Israel deserves to exist. They have stolen their land. The UN gave it to them, or it was some League of Nations gave it to them. It wasn't their land to be given away. So I'm here I've always been there, to fight for their land. They should get it back.
And the United States says that they're for peace, but they're giving a lot of money.
No, they never were for peace. Nowhere are they for peace. It's their hegemony that they want to extend. It's not for peace. No, that's all nonsense.
And what can be done to stop it? Because there are lots of people all over the world demonstrating, protesting. What's going to stop this genocide?
I don't mind I want to get rid of Biden first. That's the first goal in the next election. I don't mind Trump coming in. I know what he's done in the past, and I know what he will do, but genocide is above everything else.
You think he would be opposed to genocide?
He cares only for himself. He doesn't care for anything else. Trump is that. So if it is his business and it involves genocide, he will do it. But this guy he betrayed us. Biden betrayed us. So
why did you vote for him? Did you vote for him?
I did vote for him, yes, but I never wanted to vote for him, and I didn't have any other choice at that time.
Is that a political problem in this country? There's no political alternatives to the Democrats and Republicans?
Exactly, I think so too. I think so, definitely. Both the parties, there is no sunlight between them when it comes to Palestine or when it comes to extending our hegemony all over the world. So there is no difference.
You think we need a Labour Party, a Workers' Party in this country?
Well, this party is, PSL.
That's not a Workers' Party.
No, it's the party for socialists and...
the unions support the Democrats.
Yes, so right now I'm leaning between Cornel West and Jill Stein.
We have gathered at Alta Plaza Park to welcome Butcher Biden and his friend Nancy Pelosi, who are funding the genocide of Gaza and are actually... Nancy Pelosi has already made more money this year on her stock trades than her congressional salary. Let's throw that in there.
So are you saying they're benefiting personal from...
They are absolutely benefiting personally. And as a matter of fact, they are agents of a foreign country, which last I checked, that's not America first.
Why are they allowed to get away with this?
Because the entire system's bought out by a white supremacist, illegitimate project known as Israel. That's why. They're all bought out by the same entity, and our political leaders are selling us out in favor of these corporate entities, but obviously the people are not in agreement with that, are not down with that.
And yesterday, the U.S. government vetoed a resolution for a ceasefire. You think their hands are bloody?
Their hands are absolutely bloody. They're complicit. There's nothing that they can do now to stop their legacies being forever shrouded in genocide. But at the very least, what they can do to just salvage any sense of humanity in the world is call for an immediate ceasefire and a stopping of the arming of Israel with our tax doll.
The Western media continues to report that Joe Biden wants Netanyahu to stop, that he's not happy with the genocide in Gaza. And yet, just this week, the U.S. vetoed another resolution at the UN for a permanent ceasefire. We're tired of the lies. We're tired of not just the complicity, but the U.S.'s active participation in this genocide. Meanwhile, as we send billions to war and murder abroad, people in California and across the United States don't have housing. We don't have proper education. There are people going hungry, and yet they have money to send to the genocide of tens of thousands of innocent Palestinians. And Joe Biden has the audacity to come here to our city and demand our support, our funds, and our vote in the election this November. And what do we say to that? What do we say to that? We're here in the wealthiest part of San Francisco near Bill.